Hey y'all, okay. I had to start over, but this is for Judas and the Black Messiah. Glad you joined. If you haven't watched the video or the movie, I hope you do so you can join the dialogue because I have questions, which is usually part for the course. Here's the thing. I'm glad the movie is out. I think younger generations, including myself, need to be exposed to it. Number two, it is something hard for someone like me to wrap my mind around. Oh yeah, this was like the late 50s, early 60s. People were more eager to accept you at face value when you present yourself as an officer, which is how Lakeith Stanfield, who plays William O'Neill, comes into a bar, and that's how the movie starts. They're basically being held up by an FBI agent as we're being portrayed, a black man. And I was more perplexed, more people didn't question, oh, as a brother, as an agent? Look, it may sound ignorant, but y'all, one of the direct lines in the movie I quoted and put on Facebook, and I'm glad he said it. Chicago is the most segregated place in America. It ain't Shreveport. It ain't Birmingham. Well, right now, it actually is Milwaukee, then Boston. Yes, by per capita with hard empirical data, and it has been that way through property division, economic strategies, and through actual execution of policy and laws. Simple as that. But I'm sure at that time he wanted to highlight Chicago is not some saving grace, and we need to talk about this. So I'm coming today from two lenses. I really want to discuss William O'Neill being the snitch. Of course, he's labeled informant in every possible way, and that may be the proper title. But in the community, he's the snitch. Let's just call it what it is. And we understand he's the snitch because he wants to get himself out of a possible 18-month sentence for the theft of a vehicle, which was really nice. I think it was a Chevelle Sport, but convertible. Or was it a Pontiac? Either way, very nice muscle car. And the brothers weren't trying to let it go. And the second part was 5 years for impersonating an agent, an officer. But, even though in 2021, I can't just immediately attack folks for being able to be like, I'll accept you at your word that you're an officer because you act like it and you have, gravitas. You just show up and dictate to us. There are people in 2021 and 2020 and earlier who have been duped into individuals posing as officers. Hence, that's why we still have such laws in the books where you will be prosecuted for not, for lying, impersonating an officer, not fully disclosing. Look, we even deal with off-duty officers who somehow, let's not even get into that tangent of how they think they are the long arm of the law 24/7. And it's like, well, if that's going to also be the case, we should hold you accountable when you're the arm of the law and you're breaking the law off duty. Because that's when the first thing they holler, oh, he was off duty. That's not an excuse. Can't have it both ways. So that part is one. William O'Neill and his snitching lifestyle. And I had never heard, and I am grateful. And I know most may take it as, why would you be excited? He went in on camera and gave his perspective. Easy. We don't always get testimony from individuals who are named in something, and we have to hear from a third, fourth, fifth party. And 20 years later, we have his words. May they be biased, unfiltered, or even out of pocket. In his mind, he saw himself indirectly playing a role in the downfall. Say what it is: the massacre, the assassination, the murder of Mr. Fred Hampton. I am blown away for whatever reason all this time. At some point, I thought the pregnant girlfriend of Mr. Fred Hampton was murdered in that home raid as well. And it's not botched. I think the way they portrayed it in the movie, it looks like some typical Italians from the South Side, maybe a little bit from the North, usually Cicero, especially at that time. It may not have been Cicero, but they were heavily deep in the Cicero area of Chicago, and kind of still are right now, but it's more Latin. Sorry for the noise. I don't even know how they got through, considering I thought I muted everything. At any rate, here's the thing. It's like, what do you expect when someone stays quiet all these years, which is what he did. He only gave one interview, and that was for Eyes on the Prize with PBS, part 2. I had to YouTube and Google that to death so I could stream it to watch in his own words how he felt and what he thought. And he was directly asked, about the level of pride that he should have or what he thought about things. And he said he had that's on y'all. Think what you want, and y'all decide how y'all want to decide. But he saw nothing wrong, and he has pride, and he'll be able to tell his son ABC XYZ. Clearly not. because he committed suicide the same night that he completed that interview. And I don't know if that was a reckoning for him, or he felt like, I finally get to come clean, or if he just wanted to get his piece out there, because this is something, as he said in his own words, he was upset about it, but you couldn't discuss it. But I was impressed. Hell, you got somebody to copulate with you, got a woman somewhere and gave you a baby, so you couldn't discuss it in all that time? Baby, the secrets people take to their grave. I'll give you that. To see at the end of the movie that Mr. Fred Hampton's, I think it's Dorothy. Sorry, I had to turn my phone off because as you heard the noise, so I can't Google real fast to make sure, had the baby. And that now the son is in a chairman position in the new iteration of Black Panther Party for the area. So that was nice to see is continuing, and there's more to the story, how it unfolded. It's highly impressive, again, how young everyone was, not just Bobby Seals and Mr. Fred Hampton, but and Angela Davis. You don't have to agree with these people or like them and their processes. Because I think here's my third point of what I feel we need to discuss. Fred Hampton was about unification. Fred Hampton was not about black is this and you over there. He actively sought out and worked with groups that would be antagonizing, counterproductive to one another on the surface. But if you ever study any parts of history or even economics and law and how policy comes about, one of the main things in every civilization they've been able to do is keep people divided in different sects. Sometimes we call it amongst our community the Willie Lynch syndrome. And we know that's a farce of a paper, and it was no person as such. But that principle, that theory, has been permeating since man has been on earth. As long as you can show individuals there's a difference, fat, skinny, tall, short, darker, lighter, hair, no hair, eyebrows, no eyebrows, something as minute. Trust me, I think Europe is a good highlight of this. When you can find the littlest thing, and it could be eye color amongst that little group. Trust me, between running with the Eastern Europeans, you see it. How they treat the darker hair, the darker eyes versus the blue eyes and the blonde hair, or even the redhead gingers. So if you get an opportunity to segregate people, this is how you keep power. Huey P. Long was a real instrument in that when he was looking to leave from running for governor of Louisiana, but primarily pushing for a presidential seat. The idea was, instead of Protestant and Catholics, how we separate with religion in America too, especially Louisiana. The northern part of Louisiana is Protestant, the southern part is Catholic. Then we do race, then we do creed and ethnicity, and a lot of mixing occurs in Louisiana historically. So Plessy v. Ferguson is how you get Louisiana. And when I say that, it's to say one of the first arguments of why we had to end, it was legally codified and supported separate but equal, was a train conductor said, you come down here and separate these people and figure out who's who. You can't tell. That's how the color scheme works around Louisiana. So back to Fred Hampton today, would he have been demonized? Would he have been dismissed or cut down by others in different little segment groups like Hoteps, Pan-Africanisms, individuals who saw there's no need? The fact that he basically walked into a segregationist group portrayed in the movie, but he most definitely did. He got together and talked to Puerto Ricans, the segregationist groups, you can call them the Klan if you want to, just basic redneck, white trash, whatever you want to call them, and said, look here, and pointed out the issues, which I'm always surprised considering, I grew up with these folks, Lord help me, the Klan was right up the street from my house, never an issue. But the level of self-hate that you find with poor whites or poor Caucasians, or you may deem them rednecks or white trash, it bothers me that they never get the hustle. They're so busy convincing you to hate us that you focus on that and you never realize how much shim-shamming they doing to you. So it's one of those ultimate things. Even Frank on Shameless, now I'm glad has said it. Maybe it'll catch on eventually. It'll be a good day. And trust me, I love my people and I appreciate my culture and I'm quick to give you my heritage. But in America, in these America, United States, it is less about division of race, ethnicity, culture, and differences, and more about the poor versus the rich. And when the rest of us, as the poor, start to see that we have the numbers and can outdo the rich, then we would actually win or get much further in this progress movement. Because that's the goal, isn't it? To progress, to have something more affordable. Because think about it this way, I am at the bottom of the totem pole. I am a dark-skinned black woman. I'm glad Fred Hampton was portrayed still with the color. We didn't have to go find somebody else and get some prosthetics. Shout out to the actor, Mr. Daniel, for being able to capture our tone, speech patterns, and portray that well on TV. I thought he got that cadence really well. You could hear, like, Fred Hampton is literally one generation from the South or just came up on that I-55. Well, it's I-55 now, but the Amtrak train then from the South. Because that speech rate is a little faster, but it has a little slur to it. And I hate when people say that to me as well, because I don't think I slur my words, but I do realize sometimes when I don't enunciate in such a way. I don't take it as a backhand or an insult, baby. I code switch. I'm from different cultures, just like you. So it's called survival. With that, here's the thing. How will we receive a Fred Hampton today? I would love to hear more about what the mother of his child, our assistant in the movement, has been able to do, because she stayed steadfast, committed to the Black Panther Party the entire time. She was Deborah Johnson, sorry. The entire time that, even after his death, she delivered the baby 37 days after he was murdered. I really want to know if Mr. O'Neill did sedate him more. They gave him a drug through a pimp who was portrayed by Laurel, the comedian from Chicago. And at any rate, he wasn't responsive. How they just randomly shot, you shoot 99 times. I thought it was 73, but it was 99 times and only one shot came from the side of those in the home. But yet they were all prosecuted. The settlement go from 44.5 million, which was what was asked, and I think they settled on either 1.35 or 13.5. It was dismal considering how many people probably had to split that up. Yes, even in the 60s, that's dismal. I don't know. When I say it's dismal, here's why. That was such an abuse of authority and power in a way that should be a textbook case that's taught from K through 12 in the collegiate areas and in every part of law school. And actually medical schools too. Here's why. Because the medical profession, the people who have to go and patch this up, fix it up. Either you're going to keep them alive so they can get out, or you got to get them ready for the undertaker. One way or the other. We need to be discussing this as professionals. Like, yeah, you know what? Abuse of power is a true blight. It's a leech on society. It costs us too much in tax dollars alone. And I'm going to tell you one of the first things I'm always complaining about. How much these property taxes are going to be for? How much I'm paying in sales taxes? Where should I get this shipped to? Because you know when you get things shipped, that's your property. That's your taxes you're going to pay for sales taxes. And it matters because it always depends on where I am in America at that time and where I'll be when I need the product. So back to the story of Judas and the Black Messiah. Let me know, how did y'all take Mr. William, I hate to say Mr., but he is a sir, he's old, William O'Neill being a snitch, and simply because he was trying to avoid prison time, how you saw Fred Hampton being picked up on bogus charges of stealing like $70 worth of sugar, some stuff, just to get him locked up. He comes out, so he fights on an appeal, and then still ends up, the principle was he's going back. Although others saw him as, let's hurry up and get him out the country, we'll get the money together, Mr. Fred Hampton gave the money right back because he saw the benefit of having what the hospital could do on the West Side, and named it in honor of one of the fallen Panthers who genuinely should have been dead, but whatever, it's always something. I think the story portrays really well how Black people catch hell at every turn. You could just be the janitor at the hospital, you catching hell. It really made me think more why are we not spending more time, money, and effort to recruit more Black people, Hispanic and Latino individuals, Native American and Indigenous, to go and be police officers? Honestly, yeah, culture can corrupt, but I'm also a believer of majority can pull out the best, so majority will rule. So yeah, a few people may get infected by the culture of the forcing departments, but you can also make it better when you go in with the aim of change and the ultimate rules to get away from it. I mean, I think they did a good job because Chicago has, one of the things I like about Chicago, they're really on the surface clear about we're segregated based on our nationality and ethnicity, where we immigrated from or who we most align with. I like that. Because when I walk into a place, Chicago made me start learning Polish, Russian, Estonian, baby, I can go on, and Italian, and you make it clear. Because prior to, it really was for me like the Chris Rock joke. Who? Polish? What? Baby, that's just white. They all white to me, and this is what I'm going to do. No. I'm learning now. I'm walking that back with, help them identify, self-identify. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your nationality? What's your connection? And then once you do that, you're able to establish, wait a minute, when did you get here? And then you're able to establish, why did you pick up on such nastiness? Why are you so eager to be so divisive? And you just arrived, or you're one generation in, or you're the firstborn generation here. Why are you so nasty to us? Why does that matter to you? And what benefit does it get you? I think those are valuable questions to put on the table, even if you don't get the truth, even if they don't realize what they're doing. It helps stir the conversation, but put that top of mind, that thought. Like, hey, she got a point. Black folks ain't never did nothing to me, so why am I eager to jump in? And I get it. They want the assimilation. I really get it because, like I've mentioned in the past, if you're new here, but I have an Estonian contact who has decided, of all the groups in America, he best associates with rednecks. And then it turned from rednecks to MAGA, because these are the folks who basically he can align with in terms of thought and actions. But back to Black Judas, I'm glad it's made. It was hurtful, even though you know they're going to be slaughtered. It was really hurtful. It still brought tears. It was like, oh, I should have cut this off. I shouldn't have watched it to the very end. But I'm glad I pushed through and persevered, because I was able to read the snippets, and then it pushed me over to Eyes on the Prize. So back to William O'Neill. Do you see him as killing himself? Someone questioned, are you sure he killed himself, or did someone do? I don't know the particulars of the suicide. I was told he stepped in front of a car, which is still kind of cowardly. I thought it would be more of a gun, self-inflicted. But there's some value there. Okay, fine. We can flesh it out. Maybe somebody pushed him. I doubt it. He's lived this long. That was a lot to contend with. But let's talk about it. It could be a theory. In terms of a Fred Hampton today would be 73. It's right there with one of my parents. Impressive what you can accomplish by 21. I would have loved to see what the west side of Chicago could have looked like if, the Fred Hamptons of the world were able to execute what it is they were trying to accomplish, including who's now the elected official, Bobby Rush. I always forget he was part of the Panthers, or even the Crowns, and how they were able to put people to work on the west and the south side. So if you're not familiar with the Chicago neighborhoods, just know there's a good heavy plethora of us. Although we always hear about the south side, there's a lot of us on the west side. And those two areas are huge. It would be nice to have seen, especially with hospitals, because that really became an issue in the 80s. And that's how we have the laws. When someone is severely injured or hurt and they're in an emergency ride, you have to take them to the closest hospital. Because you got to remember, segregation dictated you couldn't come into this hospital even with that wounded person about to die. You had to go across town to the colored hospital. Yep, that was an issue for Chicago, just as well as it was for sure down south, But in all, I'm going to wrap it up. I would love to hear from y'all what you thought. Yes, I'm giving a high-level review because I have more questions on, hey, how did William O'Neill permeate this? Hey, how did William O'Neill feel about this? Hey, how did William O'Neill... Yeah, I feel like we need to keep his name at the top of the blogs and every place else so we can dig in and get everything else about him as best, like the internet can do nowadays. Maybe his son will speak up. Maybe he won't. But it would be of value to see, what does this look like? And would Fred Hampton be prosecuted today, or persecuted, by his own community for seeing ahead of the curve? Like, man, look, I don't care how we can fall out and betray one another. The goal is we need these numbers and work collectively and in unison across all race categories, creed, ethnicity groups. Scratch the culture. The culture is revolution. And that's what it was. And I'm glad they portrayed that really well, because then you can get the mindset of, oh, he's not being dismissive. This isn't anything less than pro-Black. Actually, he's being super methodical, and he's got a gift. let him use it to be able to elevate everyone. In the movie, I'm glad they were able to show he never indulged in drugs, illicit activities, bombs, anything that would threaten the greater good of the movement. Even when it was called out, like, are you looking to protect Fred Hampton? Or are you looking to protect the Black Panther Party? I'm glad he was able to question that. I do think there's real value in his partner, which she's portrayed as Deborah Jackson. The question, like, I have a child on the way. I'm glad others brought it up, because really that's when you do start to step outside of yourself and go, okay, I can't just make, short-term decisions that have long-term impacts and consequences. I have a kid to worry about, so we gotta think this one through. We just can't jump into the fire without a plan here. So, if nothing else, I hope y'all have a great weekend. It's on HBO Max. It actually is in theaters too. Shout out to those who, I don't know how y'all doing social distancing and COVID work in movie theaters, but I've had an accident, so I'm really homebound until I get ready to get on the road. And when there's no ice and the weather conditions are more pleasant to drive through America, so I can get to a place of healing. So have a great weekend, y'all.